Alright guys, as I mentioned in the last video, this tank here is housing those hatchling tokay geckos, and for lack of a better word, it totally sucks. It's got, it's got the bioactive substrate, it's got everything it needs, water dish, it's got live plant growth, but as you can see when the Rapidor gets close to the heat lamps, it burns it off, it kills off the new growth. All I've got is two giant pieces of cork slabs, and basically the geckos hide all the day because the thing is so lit up so bright. We're going to have to change that if we really want the animals. We want to be able to experience the animals when I'm awake once in a while. I want them to also completely feel secure, so something has to change. And we also need those two environments for the Amazon tree boas. So let's take a look at that Viv. Alright, so here's what we've got. This is one of those, I call them the Beast Vivariums. This one's a 24 inch, 18 front to back, and it's 36 inches tall. They all come standard. They got the mesh screen lids with the ventilation. We don't care about much of that. We're going to leave some of that open. The back one's going to have, one of the back ones is going to have the heating and lighting aspects, and then the two front ones will probably be covered with acrylic so we can maintain a bit more of the humidity in there. And that cheesy styrofoam background, now you guys have seen it, this does look like trees or whatever. Maybe we could leave that in there. Maybe we can, cover it up with the silicone and the foam and everything like that, and build it all together. That might be a part of it. I don't know. We'll take a peek. But we've got all sorts of different materials. I got cork bark. I got lots of different types of woods, driftwoods. I got different types of branches and stuff like that. So I got some ideas. I was kind of dry fitting some stuff, and I came up with something I thought was pretty cool. Here's the rundown of what I was coming up with and why. Now, I've had this one really large piece of Malaysian driftwood for a while. It has a lot of space in behind it, and I have to debate whether or not I want to take it to the table saw, cut it back so it flits into the corner a little bit better, giving more space for the animals. So you can see the spaces in behind there. It's a good space on this side in regards for an animal to cover, but I think that little chunk at the top here, if I cut that back, it might ease it back. Obviously I have to cut it down slightly to make it fit inside the screen. But if we look at it on the other side, you'll see there's a ton of space here. Like there's probably 8 inches of space between the edge of the glass and there. Do I want to get rid of it entirely? No, because this stand is actually going to be set up in a way that you will be able to see the animals, and having that nice kind of a concave look to it will actually give a nice area where the animals will feel secure. And when we'll talk about planting in a minute, that'll kind of conceal a fair bit of it. But yet I could easily look around the side and probably maybe see some of the animals a bit more during the daytime, which is exactly what I want to do. If the animals feel more secure, they're more prone to come out during the day. Now, the reason I really like this piece was really things like this. I've got this nice little, what looks like a natural pot. I have this nice little recessed area here. I've got a nice little recessed area here. I might break this down a little bit, take this chunk off, so I've got a nice bigger planting area there. I can plant all along here and have things that droop down, but a perfect spot for, say, things like bromeliads or something. I am liking the idea. When I dry fit it, I didn't have the background in. I took it out because I find these things so cheesy. But if I cover that up and make it blend in with the surroundings, I think I'm going to leave that in there. I think that'll work a little bit better with everything. A little bit of foam work, a little bit of silicone and stuff like that. And then this piece here is just built up a little bit to accommodate the height. Granted, there's going to be full bioactive media below that and everything. But my real plan is when it comes to is the planting. Now, tokay geckos are an Asiatic species. They're found to have a very, very large area of distribution, but they are primarily somewhat rainforest, and they're primarily Asian in distribution. So I'm thinking I would like to try and predominantly, I'm not trying to make a biotopic environment, and I can't really say whether or not the tokays would live exactly sympatrically with these types of species, but this, I've had envisions of this particular piece of wood being used on the side of a vivarium. It was originally planned for one of the big 36 ones, but I think it works really, really good in this space. I have no intentions of doing a waterfall. This is not a species, tokays are not a species that want that constant dripping wet moisture type thing. They want humidity, but a little bit more controlled. And I think that'll do better with maybe a couple of single nozzles from the Mist King system. But the idea I'm really thinking of leaning to is some of the tropical pitcher plants from the Nepenthes. And then maybe I'll put some things like bromeliads on here and some different mosses and stuff that'll hang down. Let's go take a peek at the old beast and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, when we open up the old beast, you can see what I mean. Like, this is a Nepenthes. This plant here is a Nepenthes. And at the end, every single one, they form a tendril that, if grown properly, and you can see this one's not, this one is dried out, so it's died. This one's dried out, so it's died. It would normally form a pitcher. Here's a perfect example here. And they can make all these pendulous pitchers. So I have one here, I believe this is an eluded hybrid, and it has old pitchers on it and stuff like that. There's another pitcher here. But this one here gets constantly missing by the mist system. The mist system will miss the plant, but not the back of the plant. So I feel back here it's kind of dry, and that's what's causing this crinkling of the leaves. So that could easily be adjusted by changing the patterning of the nozzles or adding more nozzles. The fact that I've got 36 inches divided by 18 front to back, and I only have the 2, but I also have this silly old fan, which is really the main reason that we're going to be changing the Vivarium. The airflow in here is terrible for what it needs to be. But there's another big one here, and you can see they're just giant, gangly, kind of weedy plants. It's potted way up here behind here. And then there's a little one that's growing up in the corner there. I don't even see the little baby red pitchers up there. And then I have another one here that is hanging, and this one that's hanging is a species. The name escapes me at the moment, but it produces these monster pitchers. Just absolutely monstrous pitchers. It's very, very cool. I think it's Berkii. There's more pitchers back there. Like, they're all over the place on this plant. Look at the size of some of these pitchers. These are huge. So I think these, in tandem with the Tokays, I think would look really, really cool. And they'd all just kind of drape down on that thing. And maybe we make it kind of a theme in that, and then we don't put as many... like a lot of the monsteras and epipendrums and all that sort of stuff, that's all South American in distribution. So maybe we kind of make more of an Asian theme. The Vanda, the big Vanda in the middle that I got from my good buddy Kyle, we've got a plan for that, and that's going to be above that 120-gallon tank with the roots hanging down. So let's get back to that Viv. So can you see the vision? We can put a nice big pendulous Nepenthes up here. We can have one somewhere on here. We can have one down here. I've got some smaller ones. So I'm pretty cool. I think this is pretty good. We've also met the needs of the animals by giving them a nice big shelter. It's also a shelter of which I could see inside. They're completely concealed from the light. We will have to have good light to be able to supplement the plants. Nepenthes are not highlight plants, but they are good quality. They need good quality light. So we're going to be lighting this aquarium using sun blasters. I got several of the sun blasters. I believe we have 4 of them for this unit here, 3 or 4 for this unit, and we will spread them apart evenly across the thing for distribution. I think this is looking pretty cool. I think the only other thing before we actually get to the point where we start doing the silicone and the foam is we have to figure out what we're going to do for water dishes and for feeding dishes. Being an arboreal species, having a water dish that's on the bottom is okay, but ideally if I could have something like a feeding dish that kind of mounted right here, that was easy to access, but also somehow blended in with the environment, maybe something along the lines of bamboo or something like that, I think that would look pretty slick there. I don't know. Lots of ideas, but so far I'm pretty stoked with the layout.